Welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. I'm Andy Temte. On the Balancing Act, we talk to business leaders and industry experts to explore the balancing acts we play in our professional lives and learn about the events that put rocket boosters behind their career success. Today, we have Joel Steele joining us. Joel leads Steele Financial Solutions. He's an owner and investor in 2 sports franchises and is the author of Life Switch: How to Experience the Power of Living On. Welcome to the show, Joel.
Thank you, Andy. I'm happy to be here. It's great to be with you. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Excellent. So a couple of points of intersection between us. We are both Amplify publishing authors. I published The Balanced Business there. You have published your book there. And we both have or are owners. I have been, and you are an owner of a professional team. So that's something that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show, the entrepreneurial journey of being a community leader in sports like that. So I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of things I want to get to, and we'll do our best to do that. But we'll have some fun, and hopefully listeners will enjoy today's talk.
Excellent. Well, let's start with your story. What's the elevator pitch version?
Yeah, so my story is long. The book is 275 pages. The publisher told me it was 3-something. Publisher's been telling me for months to cut it down, so I'll try to keep it brief.
All right.
I'm an ordinary guy who realized that we can do extraordinary things if we identify the talents that we have within us and find the best way to apply them in the world around us. And so really it's looking at what you're good at, what do you love doing, and what can you apply that to professionally and even personally. So that's what I did. I started to realize that I'm not just an average person, or at least I don't have to be. And I started to do things. I did things academically. I did things athletically, ultimately entrepreneurially. And it didn't all go as I planned, but by continuing to put one foot in front of the other, I've created an extraordinary life for myself. So much so that about 10 years ago, I felt the need to write a book and share all the interesting, entertaining, and valuable things I learned along my rough, very long journey from point A to point B. And I thought there's so much more value if other people know the story, can learn from it and benefit from it, than me just having it all to myself. And that's how the book got written. And here we are today, getting it out in the world on October 21st. And I'm so excited. It's so cool that people can read something that I downloaded from my brain and immediately benefit by applying it and implementing it in their lives.
Yeah, it is a great feeling to write down your thoughts. I've got one book that's more autobiographical, half business, half that autobiography, and then one pure business book. But boy, what a journey it is. And we'll get to your quote unquote aha moment of the why behind your book. But first, what's one event in your life that just was a real accelerant for you?
Yeah, well, really, I think the thing to focus on was a very negative event, which was an enterprise that I created out of love and passion out of college. So at 22 years old, I started to develop an idea that I had, a life switch moment I had, said, hey, I've got to open up a healthy fast food restaurant. I was super passionate about fitness, nutrition, and bringing that to people to make it easier so they didn't go to the corner fast food store to get their family meal for $5 and eat very unhealthy food. So I was really passionate about that. After starting that business, which was an amazing uphill climb, opening up 3 stores in my early 20s, having them all be abruptly shut down, falling flat on my face, and owing close to $500,000 at 24, it was like a slingshot pulled back as far as it can possibly go, and then some. And that, to me, was the accelerant. It was hey, you don't have a choice. You can't try something. You need to find something, and you can't miss this time. You need to hit a bullseye and be successful.
Yeah.
And I chose financial services because I knew that there was no salary, which most people would say, well, that's not good. You don't have any guarantee, you don't have any salary. But I looked at the upside that, well, if I work hard, like I have, no time for anything else except working hard 7 days a week, I'm going to bet on myself with an unlimited income. I can hopefully make enough to pay these exorbitant debt bills that I built with the restaurant business and make enough money to pay for an apartment and basic meals and things like that. So it was the failure that ultimately closed one door in my face, but a massive window of opportunity opened up because I was just like a bat out of hell that had to go forward and fly and make it happen. I mean, I had no choice. And I find that a lot of the more successful stories are people with a similar experience. They had their back against the wall, and you can either lay there like a gravitational force, or you can use your feet to push off as hard as you can off that wall
Yeah.
into a very positive direction. And that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you said the word restaurant at the beginning of that, and I was like, oh, okay.
You already knew.
All right, here it is. This is going to be the failure story, and there's lots and lots of those out there. But your story is both unique and not unique in that a lot of people will have that one failure and go, oh, well, I'm done. I'm just going to lay here like this gravitational force and let life roll over me, or I can push off and reach escape velocity, which it sounds like you have. So, Joel, tell us about your book, Life Switch, which hit store shelves just a few days ago. This show will air on the 23rd, and you said it hits store shelves on the 21st. If you were forced to pick one thing that readers should take away from your book, what would that be?
Yeah, well, it's funny when you were saying that, I thought you were going to say if I held a gun to your head, and I would say,
no.
I would tell you that I have stories about that in the book, actually.
Yeah.
Probably 4 too many
Wow.
stories about having a gun to my head. But if I had to say, you said what it's all about, Andy, that was your question?
Yeah, what's, if they could only take away one thing, what would that be?
Yeah. The key message is that in a world where everyone is Googling and AI chat GBTing, trying to figure everything out, the takeaway and the key is everything that you need for success, personally, professionally, fulfillment, happiness, it's all within you. And that's really the key. Everything that you have, it's like you have apps in your brain, but they're not downloaded, so you can't use them. And that's kind of what it's like. We are in certain ways similar to cell phones, right? We have to be charged, right? We're either working our way towards 100% or down to 0. Are we utilizing the apps that are preloaded in us, or are we just seeing what happens and trying to make do? So the key is to look within, not externally, for what you are, who you are, and how to figure out what can you do with it. And again, for me, it was looking at and talking through a lot of entertaining stories in my life, going from average everything to above average anything I can do. And what changed? I didn't take steroids to get stronger and faster. I didn't hire a tutor to become a better straight A student. I just utilized the tools that I had within me that I wasn't using before. And I continued to apply them, and I built a success streak. And when people do this, they build their own success streak, they start to create real momentum, and you start to feel that you can do anything. And that's the other takeaway, is you can do anything. And again, I illustrated in the story how I got involved with pro sports, and now I have an NBA championship ring. These are things that I didn't ever think was possible, but I didn't think about the doubt, and I shouldn't, I couldn't. I just kept moving forward, looking for opportunities, and I found a bunch of them, and I will continue to do so.
Yeah. The message here is definitely keep moving forward. So, Joel, the light switch metaphor, change, I know this personally and have seen it all around me. Change and transformation are seldom instantaneous like a light switch. So if somebody picks up your book, what's the journey to self-improvement look like? You've told us that it all lives inside of us, and I 100% agree with that. But what's the first step for somebody that picks up your book?
Yeah, you need to have a clear picture of what you want your life to look like. And so the idea of the life switch is you're turning on, flipping the switch to brightness. And if you can see with clarity a picture of what you want your life to look like, you're going to have a better chance of building it to look that way. When you buy a puzzle, right, at a store, or you get a puzzle, there's no instructions. You see a clear picture, you open up the box, and what do you see? Pieces everywhere. And you often think, how in the world am I going to do this? But then your thought is, well, everything is here. I could do this if I want to. And usually what happens is people end up regifting that puzzle to somebody else because they don't want to put the pieces together. But that's life. We all have these pieces, some of which we have, some of which we'll acquire, but essentially all the pieces are there to create the puzzle. But if you don't see what it looks like, you're never going to create that puzzle. You need to see clearly what you're building, or else you don't know what's going to get built. So that's what the life switch is all about. When it's on, you can see with clarity, you feel excitement and passion, and work can become not work. It can just become energy, positive energy, going in the direction of building that puzzle, putting every piece in place, because you know that you will do that. You will get that puzzle done if you just keep trying those pieces in different places, different angles. You'll complete that picture, and one day look back and you'll thank yourself for continuing to march forward and not giving up because you couldn't figure out where a couple pieces went.
Yeah, it's essential. You and I are very much aligned here. It's essential to understand one's personal purpose. Why do I exist? And then where am I going? And that vision for the future, that desired future state. And I find that so many people are wandering in the desert or the darkness, to continue with our light switch metaphor, wading through the mud of obfuscation in their lives. And yes, clarity does really come from understanding self. Why am I here? And then developing a clear vision for one's future. So am I parroting that back correctly?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what you're saying is true, Andy. Like we're on the same page. I think a lot of us are on the same page. A lot of this is a reminder, things that we know, but a lot of people, they don't do it. And maybe it's because they lack the why. Why should I do this today? Why should I do it tomorrow? But again, when you have a why in your life, it makes the effort. It doesn't feel like effort. It's more like how much results or how many rewards do I want to get today? Because every time you take that step in the right direction, you're adding to the bank of positive things.
Yeah.
And if you don't know why and what you're doing and just view pain as pain and not potential gain, it's hard to keep moving forward indefinitely.
Yeah, and it's hard work, and we live in a world of instant gratification, and we get satisfaction from out there, whatever out there is, versus from our own experiences and our own way of dealing with self and identifying that purpose. And the world is filled with, oh, just do this and it's easy. Just do this and it's easy. Well, what we're talking about here is hard work, but it's rewarding work. And those Joel's been talking about the rewards that he's achieved, and you can too. So Joel, let's get back to that aha moment. What was that aha moment that said, I got to write this book?
Yeah, it was really this feeling of, I can't say guilt, but this overwhelming feeling that I was possessed to get out all this information. It kind of hit me one day. It was around Thanksgiving, like 10 years ago. So I was just, full of gratitude for how things had gone for me and my family. And I didn't really know what to do with it, right? Eating Thanksgiving turkey and stuffing your face with mashed potatoes and stuffing is great, but it doesn't really help with that feeling of, giving back. And so I just felt so grateful that it just hit me that I have to give back. I have to help other people have these kind of moments, create this feeling of giddiness of where my life has become, and versus just go around and say, I have a great life. Everything's great. Most people will tell me, hey, shut up. We don't care.
Right.
So it's how can I tell you that, but help you do it too? And so that was really the aha moment was, if I can put this in a book, in a story about my life, but in a way that it's inspiring to other people and help give them tips and advice, and I'm sort of a track to run on to do some of the things that I did, then that would be something. And that's why I did that. And that's what Life Switch is all about. It's entertaining and it's inspiring. It's not a memoir, it's a sort of a how-to, but I think it's better understood when you hear how I did it, what I dealt with, how I dealt with it, and how you can deal with your own adversity, because everyone's going to have their own trials and tribulations.
Yeah. What message for listeners here is, once, and this is my 2 cents based on my experience, but it sounds like Joel has had a very similar experience. Once you can connect with gratitude and really start to feel gratitude, even for small things in your life, things can really start to change in your life. And again, it all starts here. It all starts with me and not what's happening around me. So, Joel, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. We're going to shift gears to professional sports.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Hey everyone, I'd like to invite you to start your weekend with me on the Saturday Morning Muse podcast. I briefly explore topics that span leadership, business management, education, and personal continuous improvement. Subscribe to the Saturday Morning Muse podcast on your favorite podcast streaming app, or visit andrewtemte.com for more information. And we're back with Joel Steele talking self-improvement, entrepreneurship, and we'll throw in a little financial literacy as we end the show. So let's turn to your involvement in professional sports teams. You are part of the ownership group of the Grand Rapids Gold, which is a G-level NBA team supporting the Denver Nuggets. How'd you get involved, and what's the biggest entrepreneurial challenge that you and the rest of the ownership team face on a routine basis?
Yeah, a good question. I'll circle back to the second part of that. I got involved with that because basketball was always a passion of mine since I was a kid. And when I got serious with my restaurant business and my financial business, I totally shut down anything that was a hobby or wasn't mandatory. And so I didn't follow basketball teams. I didn't collect sports cards. I didn't do anything. And over time, it started to kind of come back. Like, I miss it. I really miss watching the games and all that. And I started to reach out to my local team, the Philadelphia 76ers, because they were so terrible at that time. I think this was like 2015. They were so bad. I thought, if I approached them as a local business owner, they might be interested in bringing me on board, because they were doing anything to try to shake it up. In fact, if you remember the movie Major League, where the team was so bad and all that, it felt like that's what the Sixers were at that point. So I reached out through a business broker about getting involved with the team. The actual Sixers team was still unaffordable even back then, although I wish I would have leveraged everything I owned and bought part of an NBA team then with the valuations in the billions.
Right.
But I tried to get involved with their G League team, the Sixers G League team, and it was about to happen. They changed some of their ownership and management groups and shut everything down. And several years later, the same business broker I used, they said, hey, I've got 2 other teams available that are looking for minority business owners. I interviewed with both. The one, I didn't like what they had to say. The other one was the Gold, and I loved what they had to say. They told me I could be as involved as I wanted to be, but I didn't have to be. And so it was a way to get back into basketball in a more fun way than I ever thought possible. And we immediately had a great time. We still have a great time to this day. We go to the games that we can. We, get involved as much as we can with talent and the roster and things like that. But the team runs the team mainly. It's more of a smaller time thing. It's not like I'm making phone calls to the manager or the owner and they want to take a call from me. But It's mostly fun, but it's cool to be part of something. And there's a great ownership group. One of the challenges that we have in the G League is you often get pillaged, if you will, by NBA teams, whether it's the parent team or other teams. So you have a guy who comes in, he looks great. He gets called up to a 10-day deal or a 2-way deal with someone else, and then he's gone. So you've been building and working. You're trying to make the playoffs, which we've not even made the playoffs yet. And then oftentimes by the end of the season, most of our best players have been called up by the Nuggets or recruited to other teams, which is good for them.
Right.
But when you own a team, this is one of the downsides of owning a sports team, probably the biggest one, other than the financial risk, I guess, is you want to win every time. And when your team doesn't win, you feel like someone punched you in the stomach. It more than as a casual fan.
Yeah.
And I know there's some diehard fans out there, but it really hurts when the team loses. And I have to remind myself of that every time it happens. But there's some weekends where all of my teams win. The Gold win, the Nuggets win. I own part of a soccer team as well. And if they all win, it's like the best weekend ever. But when one or more of the teams lose, it's definitely that gut punch. So that's one of the hardest parts. But it's getting fans to come to the arena, buy concessions, buy merchandise, show up, buy season tickets when the team is not as good as you'd like it to be sometimes. And sometimes we have a roster that looks great on paper and they don't perform. But then you have the opposite. I think they're not going to be that great, and then they keep winning. So that's one of the challenges, is not knowing what a roster really means.
Yeah. Yeah. The team for business leaders in really any industry, what Joel's been talking about here, they may seem unique to professional sports, but they're really not. You've got teams on your roster in the pharmaceutical industry or automotive or whatever it is that, your talent is being poached. Teams aren't functioning the way that you expect them to. Other teams are surprising you, and you're scratching your head going, why is that team outperforming relative to this team? It's and then you need people to show up and buy concessions. Well, that's the typical customer challenges that everybody faces. So,
right, that's true.
Yeah. So going back to the Gold franchise, you talked about winning, which winning is obviously cool, but why does an ownership stake in the Gold or your other teams, why does that fit with your personal why, your personal purpose?
Yeah, it really is more of the passion side of things. So my book, the subtitle is How to Experience the Power of Living On by Discovering Your Potential, Passion, and Purpose. So basketball is the second P. It's more of the passion. But I also have a passion for business and also a passion for family. So being involved with a sports business where my family's engaged as well, going to the games, interacting with players and ownership, it just connects several different passions that I have. I wouldn't say that it's my purpose. I don't think if I'm removed from the team that they feel that in any way. So it's really in that passion realm. And it just makes me feel alive. And someone might say, well, that's a distraction to your financial business or writing your book. And I disagree. It fuels me to continue to work hard. And I'm a juggler. I think you probably are too, Andy. I like to juggle three things. I really like to have, three balls being juggled. It's my financial business, the book business, and then the sports teams. I like that. It actually keeps me fresher when I have kind of that 1, 2, 3. I'm rotating around versus if I'm just doing one thing, I can sometimes strip the head of that screw by just kind of twisting and twisting. And instead of getting results, I'm actually counterproductive because I'm wearing down by doing the same thing, the same activities.
Yeah, the word that I use for this is multidimensionalism as a leader, and kids go to college and they're told by faculty or somebody in the business community, you got to get really good at one thing and just be that one thing. And I'm like, no, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, don't do that, because you give up a huge part of yourself that you have to leave behind. You left behind your love for sports for a time. I left behind my love for music and performing for a long time in my life. And it created these holes that got filled with unproductive or underproductive activities. So I'm a strong believer that multidimensionalism is key to living on. And so I appreciate what big applause for you. Let's make sure we get to some financial advice. I'm a huge supporter of improving financial literacy around the world. I hold a PhD in finance from the University of Iowa, so this is really important. You're a fellow finance professional. Little thought experiment. You've got a 17-year-old high school student who's graduating later this year sitting in front of you right now, and you can only give them one piece of advice regarding their financial future. What is that piece of advice?
Simple. And I felt this way for a long time. Take any amount of money you can afford every month, even if it's only $50 or $100, and go along with it. Put it in something that's not going to fall apart. So not an individual stock, something like an index, an S&P or a NASDAQ or a Russell index, and do it every month. And don't even ask, don't think about it. If you can put more away, keep doing that. The time value of money and the future value of money calculator, it is unbelievable. You often ask yourself, is this right? Is this real? If you put away $100 by, let's say, 8%, over a 30 or 40 or 50-year time for these people, for these kids, I mean, you will be shocked and very pleased with what that can look like, what it can turn into for your retirement years. And imagine if you start putting away some real money. It's the time is actually way more important than the amount of money.
Yeah.
The sooner you start, the less you have to feel forced to save. So if you get $100, $200, that's going to be way better than if you're saving $1,000 a month from 50 to 60.
Yeah, my other show is the Saturday Morning Muse, and I talk about financial literacy. And I like I've got this analogy, the latte example. So, how many times do you go to Starbucks or Caribou or whatever each day as a 22-year-old college student? And some of them tell me, "Oh yeah, I go 3, maybe 4 times a day." Well, knock that down by one trip, take that $5. We now live in a time where you can have Robinhood take $5 out of your account every day and put it into an S&P 500 index fund. And you know what $5 a day over 40 years turns into? It turns into almost $1 million. So
yeah.
It's the power of compounding. Yay!
Yeah. No, it's really simple, and I think people don't know, because I think they would do it if they understood the magnitude of what it can mean. And like you said, everyone wants instant gratification. You're taking a step, like I said earlier, with a clear goal. Someone wants $1 million, $2 million. If you want that, that's your clear picture. You can reverse engineer it. How much I have to save today, tomorrow, next month, and you're right on track to do it. So that's a easy way to become financially independent. But again, if you don't define that goal, then you don't really understand the impact of every dollar. So I think that's a very important lesson.
Yeah, and is it really that hard to drink tap water for that hour versus $6 latte with all the cream and whatnot? It's a pretty easy choice, or should be.
Yep.
So anyway, Joel, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for our listeners today. Before we get to the lightning round, where can folks get a hold of you?
You can reach me at my website. It's bookjoelsteele.com.
bookjoelsteele.com. Awesome. So lightning round. Number 1, you just won a $100 million lotto jackpot, but there's a stipulation that half of your net winnings go to one philanthropic organization or a cause. Who do you pick?
It's got to be a military charity. They've already made the ultimate sacrifice. We already owe them, in my opinion. And I would probably say someone like a wounded warrior I would donate that to, and I would happily donate that to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a Wall Street warrior, a couple of organizations that prep folks for financial services careers. So those are great too. So excellent. Next question. I give you access to a really little time machine, and you can send a message to an earlier version of Joel Steele. What's the message, and what previous version do you send it to?
It's going directly to my college mailbox my senior year, and it's saying, enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Because that's something I think a lot of us struggle with, is the journey. The fun part of success isn't so much the success, it's the sweetness of how difficult it was to get there. That's what makes it so sweet. So enjoy that journey, even when it doesn't feel like it's panning out. It's part of your story. It's like watching a movie. The best part of the movie is not the end. It's the journey. It's the backstory. It's getting there, climbing the mountain, not standing on the top.
Right, right. Okay, last one. We're all works in progress. What are you focused on right now in your personal journey of growth?
Well, lately it's balancing, which is perfect for the show, balancing my financial career and this book launch.
Yeah.
It has been a lot, but it's all good. I asked for it. I'm very happy with it, but it is a lot to do a book, to promote the book, to do the podcast, which I really enjoy, but run a very successful financial business. So it's continuously making sure that I'm not dropping any of these balls that I'm juggling. So that's what I'm working on right now, and will continue to do so with a smile on my face.
Excellent. Well, Joel, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you. I'm sure our listeners feel the same way here. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Well, my name is Andy Temte. This is the Balancing Act podcast. You can find us on all the major streaming services as well as out on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, rate, and most importantly, share this public good with your friends, your family, your colleagues, and maybe even that neighbor down the street. The show is produced by Nicholas Temte, and we'll see you next time on the Balancing Act.